As we continue our journey together in getting the firewall up and active and functioning, in this video, we're going to include a security policy rule to permit the traffic to go through the firewall. So we are right here at this step in our journey. And if you missed any of these previous videos, in the description for this video, there's a link to this full playlist, which is all about getting a firewall from a factory reset condition all the way up to up and functional. So on the firewall, the default attitude regarding the data plane is no. So if we want to permit traffic to be allowed to be sourced from devices on this 10.10.0 network to go out to the internet, we need to set up at least one security policy rule as part of a security policy that permits that initial flow of traffic. Also, it's important to note that if we allow the initial flow of traffic, the firewall is a stateful firewall. And as a result, the reply traffic coming back will dynamically be allowed. So in setting up security, we want to control the initial flows of traffic, and the reply traffic will take care of itself. So as far as the game plan for our security policy rule, let's say if traffic is entering the firewall on an interface associated with the inside zone, which is Ethernet 1/1 here. And from a routing perspective, that traffic is going to be forwarded out of an interface associated with the outside zone, such as Ethernet 1/4. And if the initial flow of traffic is sourced from the 10.10.0 address space, and if it's any application. So for the demo, I'm going to say if it's any traffic, for example, it could be a DNS request. It could be HTTP or HTTPS or SSH or any of thousands of application layer services that the client may be using. For our security policy rule, I'm going to go ahead and say allow all of it. So that's our game plan. Let's head to the firewall and let's implement our security policy rule that allows that. So back at the firewall, at Firewall 19 at the web interface, let's click on the Policies tab up on top, and on the left, we'll click on Security, and let's create our security policy rule. So there's two default policies already in place. One's the intra-zone default, and the other is the inter-zone default, and here's the difference. Let's imagine we have a firewall with a few zones. So let's say Zone 1 and Zone 2. And let's imagine we have a couple interfaces in Zone 1 and a couple interfaces in Zone 2. Without any explicit permissions, when it comes to security policy rules, they are processed in top-down order. So it's going to consider the first rule and then the next rule. And so if we have explicit rules, they're going to be checked first before they hit these defaults. So these two defaults, the intra-zone default says if traffic is coming into the firewall, for example, on this interface, we'll call it interface A. And from a routing perspective, if it needs to be forwarded out of an interface that's also in zone 1, the intra-zone default rule, which is permitting traffic, says yes, allow that traffic. However, the other default, which is going to apply to most of our traffic, is the inter-zone default. So this rule here, the inter-zone default, says if traffic is coming into the firewall, for example, on this interface, we'll call it interface C, and it needs to be routed from a routing perspective out of interface B, and the source and destination zones are different, that would match the inter-zone rule. Think of it like international going between two different nations. Inter-zone is going between two different zones. And the default behavior for this rule right here is to deny the traffic. So for our rule, it would be traffic sourced on the inside going to the outside. And if we don't create a specific rule allowing that traffic, the inter-zone default will match and it will drop the traffic by default. So to create a new security policy rule, we'll click on Add. So we'll name this rule. I'll go ahead and call it Inside to Outside. And here are the considerations. If traffic is coming into the firewall on an interface associated with the inside zone, and if the source address is on subnet 10, that's the 10.10.0 subnet, and if the destination based on the routing table is an interface associated with the outside zone, regardless of destination address, so the internet's a big place, so we'll leave that wide open as any. And then for the application, we'll say any, and then we'll use the default ports for those applications. We won't lock this down to any specific URL categories. We'll leave that wide open as well. For the action, we want to allow that traffic, and by default, it's going to be doing logging for each of those sessions that goes through the firewall. So we'll click on OK, and then we'll click on Commit, and we'll confirm that commit, and we'll give that a few moments to complete. And while that commit completes, let's do a quick check. We did the factory reset and set up a management IP address. That was one of our first videos. And then we created the inside and outside zones. We specified these three interfaces as layer 3 interfaces, included them in the appropriate zones. We set up default routes, one through service provider A, which is preferred, and another one through service provider B, which is less preferred. We enabled DHCP services on 1/1, and we set up a source NAT policy rule to allow source address translation for clients if they're coming from 10.10.0 and going out to the internet. And we just finished configuring a security policy rule to permit that initial flow of traffic. And now, my friend, it is time for us to test and see whether or not this client on this subnet is able to get to the internet. So let's bring in that client. Here it is. And let's start off with a ping. Let's do a ping out to 8888. And that's looking good. So basic connectivity is working. Let's minimize that. Let's open up a browser. And let's go to thekeithbarker.com. If you're into packet tracer and Cisco, I've got a ton of packet tracer labs here. Also some links to many of my latest videos. So that's all available at thekeithbarker.com. Let's also check out my YouTube page. So we'll click on the link for YouTube here. And here's my YouTube page. Also, if you're interested in any topics that I've taught but having a hard time finding them, I would suggest you come to my YouTube page, and from here, inside of YouTube, you can go ahead and do a search of my channel. So here, if you go to the search option, by clicking on the little magnifying glass, let's imagine you want to study something like OSPF. You just type it in, press enter in the search window here on my page, and then it'll just give you result after result after result of that topic that I've created right here on YouTube. So I've got a few hundred videos, and that's an easier way to help find the specific content you're looking for just by doing a search right here within my YouTube page. And of course, if you want more detailed and in-depth content on any of these topics as well, feel free to check out our content over at CBT Nuggets as well. Now, this connectivity that we currently have from this client out to the internet to the firewall, we can also verify what's going on at the firewall itself. And there's a few ways of doing that. One way is clicking on the monitor tab up on top. And then on the left, we have our logs. We can click on the traffic logs. So this is a log representing the traffic that we just generated. And if you want to take a closer look, we can click on the little magnifying glass here, see additional detail. So I'll make that bigger. So here in the detail, it shows the source IP address, the translated source address, the server that we are going to, the ports involved, and also the security rule that was matched that permitted that traffic. Another option, still with the monitor tab selected, is to take a look at the session browser. So on the left, if we click on session browser, this is showing us the active sessions going through the firewall right now in real time. So if we grab one of those and expand it, this is showing us the security rule that permitted the traffic. It's showing us the NAT rule that's doing the translation of that traffic. And here it's showing us the flow of the traffic from the client to the server and the return traffic coming from the server back to the client. So in our journey, we're like now 0 to 59. And the last piece I want to share with you is decryption services. And the reason it's so critical is this. Most of our traffic that goes over the internet today is encrypted using some flavor of TLS, transport layer security. So if a client right here is going out to an internet resource and all the traffic is encrypted, the firewall, with its advanced capabilities of looking for malware and looking for malicious activity, if all the payload is encrypted, the firewall, once we start adding these security profiles, it can't really do its full job if all the traffic is encrypted. And that's why in the next video, I'd like to walk you through the configuration of decryption services at the Palo Alto Firewall. That way, when a client is going out to the internet with HTTPS, the firewall is effectively acting as a man in the middle, decrypting the traffic just for a few moments so it can take a clear and honest look at the payload so it can enforce its advanced security features because it can actually see what's really going on in the payload. And it doesn't just see at the application layer a whole bunch of encrypted traffic as gobbledygook, which if it did, it would prevent it from being able to analyze and enforce its policies correctly. So if you've got time for one more, I'd like to walk you through in the next video, setting up and verifying decryption services for SSL/TLS traffic on the firewall. I'll see you there in just a moment.